All right, today we are diving into something, well, something pretty intense. It's a clinical report that lays out a model for how the human ego can be completely taken apart and then rebuilt from the ground up. We're going to see this through the eyes of a figure called the Red Spectre, who documents this profound psychological unmaking. So let's start with the core diagnosis right here. The whole idea is that our sense of self, who we think we are, it isn't actually real. It's a performance. It's a carefully crafted mask we show the world, mostly to hide our own fears and insecurities. And that is the fundamental problem this whole procedure is designed to fix. We're going to follow this whole journey through 5 really distinct stages. We'll start with diagnosing this fragile ego, then we'll move through the process of shattering it, and we'll end with the birth of a powerful, totally new kind of self. First up, let's meet our subject, the Stargazer. Now, to really get why such a radical procedure is needed, we first have to understand the psychological prison the Stargazer has unknowingly built for themselves. So who exactly is the Stargazer? Well, think of someone who lives for likes and comments on social media, constantly pushing out this perfect image of success and happiness. They're performing for an audience, right? But deep down, they're just screaming for validation from a universe that frankly isn't even watching. And it's all to cover up this profound sense of inner emptiness. And the main tool they use for this performance is something this report calls the Pharisees paradox. Sticking with that social media analogy, this is the act of obsessively curating a flawless online profile. It's a never-ending performance of perfection, and it's all designed to hide the rot, the fear, and the misery inside. This slide just captures that central conflict perfectly. On the one hand, you've got this polished, perfect image built on, hollow rituals. But on the inside, there's this gnawing sense of decay, of stagnation. A part of the self that secretly just wants everything to stop, to go quiet. And all of this performance, it builds up over time into what's called the architecture of stagnation. Imagine living in a beautifully decorated room, but with no doors and no windows. It feels comfortable, sure. The illusion is soothing, but it's a prison. It stops you from ever having to deal with the real world, which pretty much guarantees that, eventually, you'll just start to decay from the inside out. So how in the world do you break someone out of a prison they built for themselves? Well, the next stage is a direct and pretty aggressive intervention. It's designed to completely shatter these illusions. This is where the deconstruction really kicks into high gear. The process has 4 steps, and they're all designed to weaponize what psychologists call the uncanny. You know, that deeply unsettling feeling you get when something totally familiar suddenly seems bizarre and threatening? The goal here isn't gentle therapy. It's to utterly demolish the subject's comfortable reality. How does that even work? Well, it's about taking things that feel safe and making them terrifying. Take something as simple as time passing. The ebony clock tower is a metaphor for turning that constant background ticking of a clock into this oppressive, booming reminder that your life is running out. The idea is to strip away every single hiding place the ego has. Okay, so once all those external illusions are completely shattered, the subject can't look outside for comfort anymore. There's nowhere to hide. They're forced to turn inward for what is the most critical phase of this entire trial. The question then becomes, what kind of tool could possibly force a person to face the ugly truths they've spent their entire life burying? What can possibly break through that final, most stubborn layer of self-deception? The answer isn't an attack. It's a reflection. A perfect, inescapable, gargantuan reflection. This is where the verdant dragon enters the picture. And it's not a monster you have to slay. It's a perfect mirror of your soul. It doesn't judge you. It simply reflects everything you've tried to bury. Every single failure, every secret shame. It forces you to confront what the report calls your ignoble knowledge. All the ugly truths you've been hiding, even from yourself. And this is the absolute pivot point. The clarity it brings is described as agonizing, and I'm sure it is. But it's the necessary catalyst for any real transformation. You see, without this incredibly painful confrontation, that old hollow self can never be truly shattered. So, after this ordeal, the subject undergoes their first real metamorphosis. They emerge from the ashes of their old self, but not as something triumphant or heroic. They emerge as something resilient. This new form is called the camel. And think about it, what does a camel do? It just endures. This is a mind that has been completely stripped of its illusions. It has seen its own flaws up close, and it can no longer hide behind those comforting lies. The camel's defining trait isn't fighting back. It's simply enduring the full, unfiltered heavy weight of reality without complaint. And here you see the key attributes of this new form: total acceptance of reality, shouldering its own psychic weight, and a complete and total rejection of the old, performative life. The camel just carries its burden and walks on. But just enduring, that's not the final state. It's just the foundation for the next and far more volatile stage of development, the switch from quiet acceptance to all-out rebellion. This slide just contrasts the two stages brilliantly. The camel bears its duty. Its whole existence is shaped by the command, "You must." The lion, on the other hand, violently rejects all of those inherited duties. It is a creature of pure, raw will, and it roars, "I will." So the crucial point here is that the lion is the ego's attempt to reclaim its own territory. It's the subject finally fighting back against the very procedure that unmade it. It's about saying a sacred no to all external authority, including the authority of this very clinical report. This rebellion clears the wasteland. It smashes the prison walls to pieces. But destruction isn't creation, is it? And this leaves us with the final provocative question that really sets the stage for whatever comes next. Once the world of "you must" is gone, what new world can possibly be built by "I will"?